now I can welcome Martin Aussenhof from Sisense with the talk on Turn That Data into a Differentiator, How Analytics Can Drive Product Value. Martin Aussenhof is a Senior Solutions Engineer for the EMEA region for Sisense, our partner for this event. He supports potential customers to evaluate Sisense products and advises on modern BI and data landscapes. Thank you very much for being here.
I'm here, sorry.
Oh, you're there. Okay, thank you.
No worries. Einfach rein? Okay. Danke. Yeah, welcome to our presentation. First of all, it's actually pronounced Sisense, but I'll forgive you. You're not the first one doing that mistake, so don't worry about it. As already said, my name is Martin Aussenhof. I'm a senior sales engineer, or solutions engineer, for the European markets, including the DACH region, but also other markets. Originally from Germany, but I've been living in London for the past 10 years. And I think that's all there is to know about me. Now, today's presentation, my boss gave me a lot of slides. I found them a bit boring, so I've put together a couple of things myself. And I was I want to try not to only talk about Sisense, but also where it fits in the whole, like in the modern landscape of data, but also how you can monetize it, how you can make money with it as a company. Right. For those of you who don't know, Sisense is a BI tool, yes. So similar to your Power BIs or your Tableaus. We focused on specific areas, though. I'm going to get to that in a second, but just so you know who we are at all, if you've never heard of us before. Right. So I'm going to go over why analytics. Usually easy to answer the question. However, I want to just give a couple of points there. Gonna go over a modern landscape of data, how it can look, AI and BI, and blockchain and BI. Though the last topics will be pretty short, I would say. I just thought I'll throw in a couple of ideas at the end. Right. Why analytics? Well, 89% of organizations rate it as critical to their strategy, not only BI strategy, but also company strategy. That's fine. Why do they do that? Well, 43%, the value of the apps can be increased by 43%, enables them to charge 25% more on average. So BI can be used to make money. Right, to add additional components to an application. And that's that use case we call embedded or OEM, right? Where someone takes our product, puts them into their own application and sells it on to someone else. What we also do is the internal use case. So you need analytics to basically analyze your numbers, take actions and so on and so forth. So more the classic BI case. But I really want you to think about it in both ways. I know the OEM use case is not applicable to all companies, but it's still often an idea to which is worth giving a thought to. Okay. And the third point is that by 2025, 60% of analytics activities will be initiated and 30% will be completed entirely within digital workspace applications. And that's why it's important to not think only of dashboards, but where the data actually can be consumed in other ways. I'm going to get to that in a second. Now, first use case, as I just mentioned, you can see here, this is a fake CRM app, but it could be any app. We agnostic to the data, to the verticals, but basically you use Sisense, you build out your analytics, and then you bring it into your application, and you can then monetize on that if you want to. You can enable your end users or your customers to create their own dashboards on the data you provide them. We support multi-tenant and so on and so forth. I don't want to get too much into technical details. If you're interested to learn more about that, you can come to our booth. The second use case is the internal use case. So you use analytics to make better decisions within your company. And even there's an embedding use case where you can use Sisense where you log in and you create your own dashboards and you read the dashboard in the classic way, how you know it from Power BI. But you can also bring Sisense into your Slack, into your Microsoft Teams. You can make the data available in Excel for your accountants. You can use sheets, you can use slides, you can bring it into Salesforce. So the idea is really, think about, like, I'm a chief marketing officer of a company now. I want to have my slide deck every Monday to present with the numbers up to date. I don't want to go in every Sunday to update them, so they're always up to date because I'm using slides or PowerPoint with Sisense. Whenever there's an issue, an alert gets sent to a Slack channel of my team so they can fix it, and so on and so forth. So those are use cases we see in the internal space, or in the like internal BI use case, yeah. So those are the main two use cases we deal with. We don't do a hell lot. Our company mainly does BI, but we try to do that really well, okay? Worth mentioning at that point as well, we agnostic to any cloud. We can install on-prem, we can install in your data center. We don't need an internet connection for most features. We don't do any vendor logins, which is, compared to lots of our competition, pretty unique, I would say. A few use cases. Nasdaq internal use case mainly achieve 10% performance boost. Why is that important? We measured that if a dashboard loads 5 seconds slower, 90% of the users goes down. Okay, so it's really key for adoption rates that the dashboards are fast, that the big data can be visualized in a sleek manner, because otherwise people stop using it, and instead of BI-driven decisions, they make decisions on the spot without any good background, if that makes any sense, right? So that's why that is quite key. Another use case, CTSI, logistics provider. They increase their win rate by 50%. So here we have a use case where they embedded it in their own application and use it as an extra service to their customers. 50% more wins for the deals. All right, so those are the two ways how you really can make money with BI. The first one, internal, better decision making. Second one, you can sell it on as a product if you want to. Just a couple of names we work with. As I said, we're pretty flexible on verticals. We work worldwide across pretty much all industries. And no dependencies on any cloud providers or whatsoever. Right, how can be a modern data landscape, how can it look for you? The classic approach from BI often was like, I want the all-in-one tool where everything comes. So I have my database in there, I have my ETL in there, or ELT nowadays a lot, and then my BI tool. We're trying to get away from that. We do offer that, so you can import data into Sisense, you can transform it with SQL, but we don't really believe that's the future, and also we think that a proprietary language to mingle with your data is not very good. Because if you hire someone, they maybe speak SQL, but they don't speak necessarily your proprietary language. So you really stop yourself from dipping into the pool of good talent in the BI space by doing that. The other thing is, if you do something like we've seen here, where you split things up, and again, you could have this all in Sisense if you wanted to, and we still offer that. However, if you split it up, you can exchange your tools for each component individually, and you never lock yourself in. Right? So ETL, you could use dbt, right? You could use Fivetran as a provider if you wanted to. Same with your data warehouse, with your database. You could use Postgres on-prem. You could use a cloud provider. You could use Snowflake, BigQuery, whatever it is. If you're unhappy with one solution, you exchange it for another. And the same goes with the BI tool. Obviously, I've put Sisense here because it's the best, clearly. However, this could be any BI tool, and it sits on top of that chain. Okay? Now, this is a bit high level, but this is a good starting point to think about data in the future and make it future-proof. And opposite to what a lot of people say, it doesn't have to be in a cloud. This can be on-prem, behind a curtain if you need to do that because, I don't know, you're selling to a government or whatever it is. Analytics and artificial insights. I made this focused on what we offer as Sisense, but I've included a couple of other things where I believe we go in there in the future. This is not a product roadmap, disclaimer, but some of the stuff we're working on and some of it we probably will be working on. the first column, you can see what we already have in our platform, which is forecasting. You can apply that to any line chart with 2 clicks. Explanations, you see a dip in your numbers, you want to explain why that happened. It goes through all your dimensions and tries to find connections. Think about it that way. I have a marketing campaign, it doesn't work well. I want to know, is it a certain brand that doesn't work well? Is it a product? Is it a certain channel that doesn't work? You can find that with 1 click. It does the magic behind the scenes. You don't have to create 10 different pivot tables to find the reasons. Exploration suggests you other ways of looking at data. Simply ask is basically you ask a question in plain English or German, and you get your data back or your visualization. And intelligent alerting is basically if this, then that. Which really drives adoption rate of BI, encourages people to use data more, but it's also, think about it in a perfect world. I don't want to know if my flight is on time, I only want to know when it's not on time, but it needs to be so reliable that I don't have to check if my flight is on time tomorrow, right? We're often not there, I think everyone can agree with that, but what we really, these kind of alerting we want to get to, that it's so reliable that the machine can decide what is worth notifying on me on and what isn't. Now, short-term automatic actions, intelligent infusion, and advanced predictions on metrics. What do I mean by that? Automatic actions is actually something happens in your data and something else gets triggered. But that happens automatically. We can do that to an extent already, but what I think we will get in the next years, and that's the market, that's not only Sisense, is to, in a smarter way, decide what needs to be done. Okay? So instead of like having fixed rules, how it's nowadays, that if this, then that it kind of builds that rules on the fly based on historic data. Intelligent infusion, similar thing, I would say. Advanced predictions on metrics, we have forecasting, we have clustering, we have k-means, all those things, Pareto, but more advanced predictions for me would be connecting different data sets, more specific to your vertical, what your business is, and so on and so forth, right? So that I have different KPIs and the machine automatically connects that to make a prediction. We're halfway there, I would say. You can do that to an extent if you have a Python developer or an R developer and they can write a model for you specific to your data. But ideally, at some point, we want to build that automatically. Make long-term future, and that's probably the most trickiest part, is making sense of unstructured data. It goes in the same direction as what I said before, but it's a step ahead. So you throw loads of data at something, and it tells you what's important, how it's connected, and so on and so forth. Really tricky to do, especially because every business case is different, right? So it's really hard to generalize that. Unsupervised BI goes in the same direction, right? So where you eliminate really this whole BI work from humans, and the BI tool just throws out what it thinks is important to whoever consumes it. Far away, I would say, to really get there. I'm not saying that parts of it isn't possible nowadays, but to do that across the board for every use case, every vertical, very difficult to do. Lastly, analytics and blockchain. I just included, and sorry about that title, that's the wrong one. I've only included that because I feel you can't nowadays hold a presentation without mentioning blockchain. I have to admit though, I don't see a big space for that in BI. Reason being is you can, yes, visualize blockchain activity 100%, right? Where did something go in a blockchain, how often, and so on and so forth it was transferred. Definitely a use case for BI. Using the blockchain as a technology underlying, I don't see a use case for that. Reason being is BI data A has usually a governance in place. There's an authority that owns that data. You as a company own your data. Google owns its data. There is not multiple players that have authority over that data. It's the same reason why blockchain is not really suitable to hold things like property titles, right? Who owns a certain house or something? Because the bank has an authority over your property, right? Unless you paid it off. The police, the state has an authority. That's the key difference to a lot of things where blockchain makes sense. The other thing with blockchain is it's really expensive if things constantly change and data constantly changes, right? So it's from a financial, from a resource point, it doesn't make sense. And that's, by the way, two things I would also advise everyone to use in general when they think about blockchain and when they buy products or technology that claim to use the blockchain. Really think about these two things. And if one of them is a red flag, then usually it's bullshit, marketing bullshit. Or completely useless. All right? So that's all I have to say to that topic. If you have questions to any of those topics, we will have, I think, 5 minutes now. But also we have a booth. I'm happy to discuss certain things in detail. I'm happy to show you the platform, what we can do, give you more use cases. I have two of my colleagues with me as well. We can talk about monetization, all that, no problem at all. And that's it from my side. Are there any questions?
It seems there are no questions so far, but I thank you very much for your talk on how to turn that data into a differentiator.
Yeah, the title is...
It's catchy. It's catchy, indeed. Thank you so much.